And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Denise O'Donnell. Denise, thanks for spending a few minutes with me.
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Denise and I met a few months ago. A friend of mine pulled us together into a new mastermind group that we are in, and we are cooking up all kinds of fun things that you'll hear about later. But when Denise and I had our one-on-one and started understanding what she does, I thought, oh, I need to have you on my podcast because I've got lots of people who could probably use what you do, because she doesn't do just one thing. She does two or three different things. So I'm just going to shut up, Denise. I'm going to let you talk about who you are, what you do. And you've got this English accent type thing going on, but you actually live in the States, which is cool. So talk about that. But I really want to know, after all of that, how did you get doing this? So the show's yours, girl.
Sounds good. I'm going to try and remember all of those questions, right? As CEOs, we can get a wee bit squirrely and start to ping all over the place. So I'm going to really try and anchor it down. But our job, I'm Denise O'Donnell. I'm originally from Glasgow, Scotland. So I came over back in 2008 on a soccer scholarship here to the United States. And, you know, the UK, you can't really do both. You can't really have academics and athletics combined. And so happened to stumble upon some opportunities and picked up a suitcase and a backpack and made my way over here to see what it was all about. And I've never really looked back, so I'm glad that I'm here, and thanks for having me on the show today. But I own a company, Scope CFO, and what we look at is kind of more of a holistic viewpoint from the C-suite level of your business. So we're sort of guiding the CEO. If we think of the CEO as the pilot of the plane, we come in as the executive within that flight deck framework, right? And what we do, and where our signature package lies, is we actually implement and implant 4 executives into your business to take you from point A to point B in a rapid manner, right? It's radical change because we take in and give you 4 executives right at the power of your fingertips to utilize every day in the areas of finance, operations, human capital, from the roots of culture all the way up through those procedures, and then the strategy side. And what we find is that a lot of times people are coming into us going, Denise, we need financial statements. We need to see them. But it's very difficult as a CFO to produce financial statements if there's no operational framework to drive the data in there, right? So we don't really want to take people's money and produce no result. We really want to be able to help them from that root cause, whether that's from their strategy all the way up to say, let's get those custom KPIs into financial dashboards. But being able to really create a bigger lens into each of these pillars, because ultimately your money is going to affect your operation, because what cash you have is the ability to operate it, right? Having the ability to operate effectively means you need a well-running team. To have a well-running team, you have to have a pretty good strategy to make sure all of those things align, to have that as a cohesive method. And so that's really what we do to propel you into that unparalleled height of achievement, right? And then we also hold you accountable to it. Our systems are there to hold you accountable and have guardrails so that you don't spill over or feel like you're falling off a cliff. A lot of my job becomes understanding risk tolerance and who you are as a CEO, because everybody's point A to point B is drastically different, right? You and I were just talking about the distance from Louisville to Lexington in Kentucky, but that's drastically different from Louisville to Orlando, right? And those are 2 different paths, and it's not that one is any better than the other. They're both drastically different destinations. Do you want horses or do you want the beach? Right? But it's really about the CEO and what the CEO wants. They know what they want. We just know how to get them there from the business operations side.
I love that right there. You know what you want. We just help you get there, because one of the challenges of us being a CEO and trying to run a business is actually thinking through all 4 of those, but finding somebody who can help you not only think through those, but implement them. And so many times where businesses fail, I'm reading a book right now called Small Giants, companies that choose to be great instead of big.
Yeah.
And they have case study after case study after case study of great companies who have struggled in hiring the right people in the C-suite because culture wasn't right, or they didn't have the right strategy, and they lost a lot of money in the process until they found it. And you kind of solve that. You take that off the table because you've got the people, you bring them. Talk about, you said we put them into your company. What do you mean by that? Unpack that a little bit.
Sure. So essentially, we come in, three tiers, and that's kind of sort of about the speed of how it's done and the intensity, right? Because ultimately, some people don't have the capacity for a certain intensity depending on the season of their life that they're in, and we don't expect that. And so we want to try and match and measure where we have it, right? So if you come into all four pillars, I'm telling you, there are four humans behind that. That is the power of four people. That is not just me. I'm not doing this single-handedly. We are putting four people that have done this in their career before this, or have been doing it in their career for the long haul while they work with us, right? So we're not putting in people that have no training, no expertise. We're really saying it's really difficult for small businesses to achieve that level without sort of putting everything they have on the line to have it. And so rather than do that, have it at a condensed cost, but sort of in a more fractional way, and strategically implement it into your company so that it doesn't bankrupt you, but it does take you to the growth period where you can then afford to hire these positions full time.
Right. No, that's great. And it lines right up with one of my coaches, Dan Sullivan, with Strategic Coach. He just wrote the book about who, not how. And that's, you are a who. In fact, you have like your little who community there. You have your who village, because you are distributing expert people who in finance, in operations, in strategy, in HR world. Those are things that entrepreneurs aren't taught, right? And we get stuck in the, well, how do I do that? And we bang our head against the wall and we lose time, effort, money, all of that, when it's just easier to say, Denise, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's my vision, and talk through that. And then you say, great, got it. Get out of my way, in a sense, right? And we're going to make you from a one-person C-suite to a five-person C-suite. Exactly. And we're going to guide you through the whole process. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really helps us stand out is that we really err on the side of it is what you want. I couldn't care less if that is you taking a silent hiatus in the jungle for a month, or if you want to go and build a custom yacht. I don't care what it is, right? If you tell me what you want, I put the measures and the metrics and the plan in place to take you there. And the things that are working well, we keep doing, and the things that are not working, we have a direct pathway. We have experts on our side that are constantly analyzing this in the background while you're working away, right? We're looking at the metrics to go, okay, at our next meeting, we've really got to tackle this and try and get this over the line, because we are the people who execute, and we work with your team on sort of other levels to then help them execute, right? And give them change management processes or training where they need it, so that it is a cohesive lift rather than chipping away at one pillar. Because if you think of a Colosseum, right, and it's got four pillars, if you're just attacking one and sort of going, I'm just going to chip over here and chip over here, eventually you get lopsided.
Yeah.
And then it's really difficult to get that back into harmony a lot of times, because you don't know how. You know what to do, right? You know that you need two new assistants and more capacity and probably a 35-hour day versus 24. You know what you want. And while we can't provide solutions to all of those things, we can put time back in your day, or we can give you a personal life back, because you're not sitting there wasting time spinning your wheels on things that you can simply go, hey, how do we do this? Okay, I'll talk to you later, right? And that's it.
Well, and that's one of the key things there that I want my audience to really hear is having experienced people who've done this for years in industry at your beck and call, so that you can say, how do we do this? And they're like, I got it. I've seen this. Here's what we're going to do in this situation. And we may have to tweak it because it's a different situation, but we've done this dozens of times, versus going out and buying a book or going to a seminar or hiring a coach that just does that. Because if you hired four coaches in these four areas, great, they don't talk to each other. What you do is bring in the whole gamut and say, here you go. You're like, going back to your airplane example, if you're the pilot, if the CEO is the pilot, tell me if this works. You bring in the crew members, right? And but Denise and her whole team, they're like the what do you call it? The tower people.
That's kind of it. So we explain it very similar, right?
Okay.
that fast, that we're your flight deck framework. So you're the pilot, right? And your CFO is your captain, because they're always to your right hand side. They've got to know where all the money's going. They've got to make sure you've got fuel in the tank to keep going. They've got to keep you in the air. But right behind them is the COO, right? They're going to be right behind you, because ultimately a lot of these things triangulate. You can't afford to do things over here if you don't have money over here, and if you don't have a strategy over here, you're kind of screwed, right? And so then you've got the person that's going to staff it. Once we know, do we have the money to do it? Okay, we can build the logistics to make it happen. Now we need the people to run it. And so we sort of describe it, if we are your chief operating officer, and we have one for every pillar, but if we're your chief operating officer, we're not necessarily going to serve the passenger the in-flight meal, but we are going to make sure that your in-flight meal is on the flight to serve. We're also going to make sure that that in-flight meal is priced out correctly, that it's included in your ticket price, right? So that you're not hemorrhaging money out the back door that you're not even thinking about. And so we do all of those mechanics under there so that your gauges are ready for you to go at any point, or go, I'm changing direction, I hate this. And we can then say to you, well, here's what's performing, right? Yeah. Let's not just be like, I'm throwing in the towel because I think I'm not performing, because a lot of times we find that that's the CEO measuring against a vision instead of measuring against their progress. Yep. And so when they're then shortfalling themselves all the time, then that's like a mentality on its own that's hard to survive, right? And then you put all the pressures of business that you've never done before. And I mean, I think about some of the entrepreneurs we work with, and I have to tell them and remind them often, you know, if I was to come into your place of business and try and do what you do, I would fail miserably 10 times out of 10. So why do you put so much energy into trying to learn a skill that you're really not going to get educated for? You're not putting time in to learn it. You're just doing it because it needs to be done. And it drains you, right? Like that in its own seems like a whole lot of cost. Well, no matter where. So choose your heart, right? And then it's like, well, if you outsource it, you have a better lens, you have an expert on your side, you have someone to call. Like we're always like, just call us. We will know the answer. Like you said, we will know the answer, because things that are baffling to you are things we do every day. The same way things that you do are baffling to me that you do every day and are pretty simple, right? And I'm sitting there going, should I use this word or this word? And you'd be like, Denise, leave the words alone. It's all about the sentence, right? I wouldn't know. Right. And so it's almost like being able to get people to say, here's what I'm really good at, and I'm going to use my superpower to do that. And then I'm just going to surround myself with the right people beside that to keep me going, right? Because ultimately, I like to tell the people in our company, right, sometimes we're going to try things that don't work, but I'm not opposed to something that takes off either, right? Because if it's working, we're all gaining from that. It's not about me necessarily holding everyone to this one thing. If it's working for everyone, let's utilize it. And I think sometimes that can be hard to see, especially as we raise our own, you know, baby of a business.
That's right. Yeah. And the other thing that we have to understand here is she's talking about a fractional team, right? These are full-time equivalent. These are people that you're not hiring at a full six-figure salary. You're getting a fraction of them. But I also heard you say, you know, we can have weekly meetings. We can have this rhythm. And I think that's one of the things that business owners need to implement is a regular rhythm of meeting with your C-suite team, your leadership team. Denise brings them in, and you may have them for an hour or two or five. I don't know how it all works, but they're yours for that time. They understand your business. They understand your culture. They understand where you're going, and they're going to help you get there without you spending $500,000 to build a C-suite. You don't need to do that, right?
That's right. It is, like you said, it's a fraction of that cost, right? What you're going to pay for maybe 1.5 FTE in a C-suite, you're getting 4 fractional. And when you are a business of a certain size, you don't need to have the cash outlay of the 500,000, right? Like if you don't have more than 5 times that coming in on your top line, like you probably don't even need to be thinking about that. You're not even in the realm of thinking about it. So while we have to sort of think about what we want to become in the future, we also have to remember that we can't overdo. Otherwise, again, we sort of, the pendulum swings back on us, right? And sometimes we get so then we forget the anchor, become the anchor going. But then we're going to tell you what ones are tangible and what ones are more like those pipe dreams, right? That we can separate the vision from those that are maybe later, right? Then once we've got the cash flow to do those things, sure, go away, go do those things, right? Go run your own nonprofit, or go buy your own real estate investment firm. I don't care, right? Let's just get this one done first.
Yeah. On that, what kind of business should be thinking about actually reaching out to you? Solopreneur, somebody who's been in business for 2 years, 5 years, 10. What's kind of the litmus test of somebody who reaches out to have that first conversation? Or is it somebody who's entrepreneurial and says, Denise, I'm probably too soon, but in 2 years, this is where I want to be? Well, I mean, who's a good...
So here's the beauty of Scope. While we present our flight deck, that is our signature program because it is the best results. It is tried, tested, and true. That we do it all in-house. We actually have pillars that go from bookkeeping all the way up to billions, right? It really doesn't matter where you want to place it. So, we even have things from the coaching side where CEOs are like, I want to build my own C-suite team. Okay, then let us help you, right? Why do you want to do that alone? I wouldn't want to do that alone. And I've done it, time and time again. And it doesn't seem like an activity I'd want to be doing alone.
Right.
So really, I think ideally, if you're looking for where the C-suite has the best results, you're looking at those that are trying to get over a huge hump, right? So if you're stuck at that $1 million mark trying to get to 3 million, that's going to take you there. 5 to 10 is going to take you right there, right? That's what the frameworks are designed to do. But we do have the frameworks just dialed back a little bit to then help smaller businesses reach that level until they need the full thing. But then they've already built most of it anyway. So it becomes an easier lift for them, right? Because they're used to having the execution and results metrics and measurements versus, I think I'm doing okay.
I like it. No, I love it because you're taking entrepreneurs from where they are to where they want to be step by step, but with a seasoned leadership team. And I'm grateful to have you here because not a lot of people talk about the importance of that leadership team to be able to execute down. I mean, as visionaries, we're like, oh, let's go get the mountain and let's take it now. It's like, well, I can't. I've got to build the operations first. And that's not the strength of an entrepreneur, but that's where you come in to pull it together. And then having the step-by-step vision to go, okay, if you're doing 500,000 now and you want to be doing 8 million, okay, let's take you to 1 million first, and then 3, and then 5, and then 8. And we've got the frameworks. We can do that. I love your flight deck frameworks. That's a great name. And from bookkeeping to billions, that's great.
Yes. So
go ahead. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I spent so much time as an industry CFO and always ended up sliding into the COO role too. Yes. And I just sort of lucked out in having, well, I can look back and, think that's exactly why people sort of leave the space eventually, right, to do their own thing, is that it's just no one sees that those are 2 roles, right? Which is exactly why we want to make them 2 roles. And it's like our whole model. You need more than one. It's so you don't break the person that's doing it, right? And you keep sustaining and move forward. Is that then this idea was born that it is possible to have all 4, and it is possible to have these key pillars take off. And so we designed it after, I had this really eclectic experience, which I can look back now and really be thankful for because it's birthed this, right? Yeah. And I think that this can really help so many people that are sitting there going, I think I'm doing okay, but I know that if I just understood a wee bit more or could see a little to, my job's not to make your decisions. You can always ask me what I would do, and I will tell you honestly what that is. But I want to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the best, so then you can make that decision based on what you know from the front line or where you're sitting in your organization.
That's awesome. All right, we could go on for hours, Denise, because this is so fascinating and it's so needed in business, to be able to help us grow at a pace that's probably a little faster than what we're doing now, and at the same time controlled, because you have experts on staff who can say, you know what, that's great, you want to be at 8 million, let's just get to 1 first, okay, let's do that, and then let's go and go and go. what's the next step for somebody listening to this? Where do they go to just learn about Scope CFO and everything?
Absolutely. So naturally, you can go to our website, scopecfo.com. That is our handle across all social media channels, you know, from LinkedIn to TikTok at scopecfo. You can find us there, or you can send us an email, helpdesk@scopecfo.com, and we will get right back to you.
Awesome. That sounds great. Denise, wow, thank you. It's been amazing. I love what you've put together. I love the flight deck. I love how you're coming alongside entrepreneurs to help us make a difference, make a bigger impact without us having to do it all. Thanks for putting it together, and thank you for being my guest on Expert Speak.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to be here.